So getting these two guys is a very interesting story actually. You may recall a few months ago that I went to a Transformers Collectors Club meetup after Supernova. No, not that one. Ah, that's the one. And Supernova was an awesome convention filled with pop culture stuff that sadly I did not attend. It did give me the confidence to attend Smash though, which by the time this is uploaded should have happened a while ago. So I'm sitting around enjoying my burger, looking at really cool toys, and this guy brings out a Topspin. Whilst it would be a lie to say he had it for sale, I did convince him to sell it to me for the same price he bought it at, which was conveniently at retail. Some might call me a pest for that, and they'd probably be right. As for Twin Twist, well, remember how on the way to Greece I stopped off at a store and found RID Bludgeon? Well, I managed to stop there on the way back to Australia too, and this time the flight was early rather than late. This allowed me the luxury of getting some shots for the review, and to remind myself at that point that Megatronia still wasn't in my possession. She is now, and she's very lovely. I was gonna get Misfire, but after seeing how ugly the pink turned out, I went with Twin Twist to complete the duo instead. And how do I feel about my purchase? Steelbane's loose thighs are seeming like a good trade-off, mind you. Not that it's bad in any way. Well, most ways. Just, you'll know what happens when I get on with the review. Being mold mates, Topspin and Twin Twist are almost identical. Almost. There are differences, but it's amazing how similar these are in design, and honestly it's a little disappointing. I get that they're supposed to be twins, but since most of the time when Hasbro does a retool, they go all out and change parts around, meaning the sprues are completely different anyway, I would have loved to have seen new mechanical detail added to Topspin. And yes, I said added to Topspin because I personally believe that although Twin Twist came out second, he was designed first. Aside from fitting the boxier aesthetic a lot better in vehicle mode, there are certain transformation paths that clue me into that. Unfortunately, there's no proof for this, so I can't really confirm it. Despite that, I'll be going in order of release, so I'll start with Topspin. In terms of looks, Topspin is surprisingly effective. I wasn't expecting to like the alt mode this much, because the very idea of a boxy jet goes against the characteristics of what a jet is supposed to be. That said, the 80s sci-fi aesthetic seen throughout Time's Return works really well here, although with the overall quality of the line I don't exactly see how that's a big shock. As much as I wasn't expecting it from the photos before, I can fully see something like this flying. He even has foldable front landing gear, which is a nice touch. Unfortunately, the one thing this alt mode fails in is cohesion, and it's another thing that clues me in that this guy was made second. First up, the paint. Although categorically this guy has more paint than Twin Twist, such as the layers of detail on the nose cone and the black on the sides, a lot of paint just doesn't carry over to other parts of the figure. The front section is painted really nicely, but it just stops at the arms, which is super distracting when you have the cockpit continuing. The wings are painted rather nicely, but the silver striping also stops, and already they have to deal with problems such as not locking into a specific position and being half the size they should be. The vents on the top break up the colour scheme way too much, and would have worked much better if the bronze were a few shades darker. Here's hoping Repro Labels fixes that, but paint cohesion aside, the moulding also has a few issues as well. The main issue, aside from the hollow thruster section, is the blatant visibility of the thigh sockets. If only there were a way to cover them up. Oh hi Twin Twist! Now yes, Twin Twist also has issues. The back section is still pretty hollow, and he has a lot less paint overall, and the yellow at the front is done pretty thinly and the air vents are pretty hollow, but out of both alt modes I still prefer him. The different tooling isn't that drastic with the replacement of the front section into these epic drills with even subtle white edges, new, or possibly old, tread sections that cover up the hip socket, and new thrusters on the back. Aside from that, this is literally the same figure. Mechanical detail for mechanical detail. It'd be even easier to see if you take out a Gundam marker. No, I'm serious. Nothing is different. I said it earlier, and I'll say it again. The toys would have been much better if Hasbro had changed something more than just slight tooling. When they retool a figure, they usually go all out and reshell the whole thing, and you can hardly tell it's the same. But in this case, and in the case of several other Titan's Return toys, the retooling has become a little lazy. As for weapons, they are also identical. In fact, the only way you can tell is the difference of the base colour that can be seen through the silver. Can you guess which one is which? If you guessed blue for Topspin and white for Twin Twist, you'd be dead wrong. Actually, it's the opposite of the primary colour, so you're going to need to replace each gun with the colour of the robot chest. Topspin's guns fit under the wings pretty snugly and work quite well, whereas Twin Twist's kinda just use the 5mm ports. He has a couple on the back, just like Topspin's, which look pretty dumb. He also has a couple on tank treads, which are exclusive to him and do look a little better, but still pretty dumb. Personally, what I like to do is open up the panels and peg them into the hands, getting the Stealth Force action on. Many would argue that if you have Stealth Force transforming into robot mode would be pointless, but the way this is done doesn't quite reach that point. For a size comparison, these guys are about average for a deluxe. They may be a tad thinner, but nowhere near as thin as the Brainstorm mold, and with the wings and treads you don't really notice it. Now usually I don't discuss how to transform parts of the figure unless I really have to, and in this case I take issue with some of the transformation steps laid out by people like Cheffatron and others at the meetup, specifically with the Headmaster. You see, when people transform the Headmaster, they seem to just try and jam it in sitting with its arms straight down, whereas actually what you need to do is fold the arms up like he's using the control panel. Okay, so what you want to do, instead of just taking him in and sitting him in there, which doesn't quite work and then this doesn't close properly, what you actually want to do is flip out the arms, which is how most Titan Masters should be sitting anyway. Close is fine. This actually confuses me, because if you think about how the pilot usually flies a plane, he has his arms stretched out, right? Naturally, whenever I place the Headmaster into the cockpit, I extend the arms forward to simulate that act. In fact, when I found out you couldn't for Megatron's jet mode, I was a bit shocked. So, for those who some reason leave the arms facing down for seating positions, stop it. Please, it's ridiculous. And whilst I'm here, I should mention that Topspin's cockpit is a little tight, so sometimes you have to flip out the arms to properly grab it. Oops. The transformation is virtually identical between the two of them, with only slight differences in kibble management. And between them, it's insane! Take your favourite bits of the previously released Trigger Happy and then multiply them by tenfold. Almost no parts are left hollow, almost everything has a specific place to lock into, and it's mostly glorious. The only parts I have trouble with are the knees, which I'll get back to later, and the backpack, which I wish folded up more. As for who does it better, I'm still thinking Twin Twist. Topspin still has a bunch of annoyances adding in, such as the landing gear that has to fold up in a very specific way to allow the cockpit to fold properly, and the wings which still have no locking point. Twin Twist also has a cooler foot system, where they line up in an immensely clever way. That said, unfortunately the tide is about to change. Brace yourself for the robot mode. So, you see the problem yet? I'll give you a little bit to figure it out. Any ideas yet? No? Okay, I'll start off with Topspin to show you what I mean. Topspin is pretty damn awesome in robot mode. There's virtually no hollowness whatsoever, excellent proportions, and a nice and bulky physique that isn't seen much nowadays, and plenty of paint to bring the robot to life. Already the colours are appealing, but the added subtle paint details on the shoulders and lower legs really work. I'm not as bothered by the bronze on this mode as it carries over with the shoulders, and the repetition makes it seem a lot less garish. Then you get to the head, which has so many colours in such rich shades. They even got the yellow right, and yellow on dark colours is one of the hardest things you can do. Overall, this robot mode is quite amazing. Twin Twist? Well, the solidity of the figure is still there, and the physique is still there, but overall, the colours just kind of ruin it. There's nothing here. The problem with white is if you use it too much, it can make a figure seem bland. Figures like Combiner Wars Superion hold my attention due to the balance with red, but figures like Takara Superion don't, because it's just a sea of white without much to break it out. Especially since this is an off-white compared to Topspin's much creamier tone, this just looks bland. There's hardly anything to help break it up, so even though he has a similar amount of paint apps to Topspin, it ends up feeling like a lot less. And here's the kicker. I ended up paying way more for Twin Twist than I did for Topspin, a whole $5 more. The dumbest part is these figures are supposed to invert each other's colours in robot mode, and by that logic the thighs should be blue, yet for some reason they aren't. Twin Twist's legs are completely white, but you can see part of them have been painted over for this effect. My guess is the top part is actually blue plastic, so couldn't they have just painted the bottom part instead? It's not that far jammed into the knee. You also get different tooling, and if Topspin really was designed second but released first, then they definitely improved on the design. Topspin's shoulders look much better than Twin Twist's kind of ugly ones, especially with the poorly painted yellow, and mind you, white is a much easier colour to paint over than Topspin's blue. The yellow and red on the shins also look much worse in this mode, and the head sculpt?
Disappointed!
It's boring. Really, really boring. There's nothing to distinguish it here from any other generic robot head, nothing memorable. So, since I'm just getting bored by looking at him, let's get even more bored with the articulation. Although I can't handle 2 stages of boredom, so I'll just show it off with Topspin and not Twin Twist. The head is on a ball joint, as with all Headmaster figures, and the Headmaster has all the same articulation as prior. He has shoulder hinges and ball joints, he's got bicep swivels, a double elbow that works better if you let the first hinge down a bit, and unfortunately no wrist swivel. But given the transformation, I can get over it. You could have put a ball joint in there and made that better, but it doesn't really matter that much. He has a very nice waist swivel, which makes 6-shot even more stupid. If a deluxe can pull it off, why not a leader? He's got ball jointed hips, a thigh swivel, adjustable knee flaps, which I usually don't bother with, and a 90-degree knee bend. Sadly, when we get down there, I reach my main gripe of both figures. The knees just don't plug in properly. There's supposed to be a tab in there, but instead it's just a guiding peg that doesn't actually clip in. It's just as bad on both figures, and a lot of the time it makes posing them not very fun. For a size comparison, they're both quite bulky for a deluxe. Surprisingly, this isn't an illusion created through hollowness. A lot of people say the sides of the figure are hollow, but it's such a small section that I don't really consider it that. So overall, Topspin is very much top tier. If you only get 1 figure in the line, get Trigger Happy, but if you get 2, get Brainstorm, but if you get 3, get Trigger Happy. Yes, I don't really think he quite takes the figure of the lion spot, and of course personal preference puts Brainstorm at number 2, but it's so close that you owe yourself this purchase. Twinsis is structurally just as good, but the score goes down to show just how much a color scheme can change a figure. Right now, he doesn't really have any characteristics that should make you desperately want to buy him. Jumpstarter completionists are probably already going to have him anyway, and for that he fits the bill quite well. However, if you only want one, then there really is no contest. A figure has to satisfy both the structural and the cosmetic to become top tier, and unfortunately Twin Twist just fails in one of those departments. Hey guys, just letting you know that there is a Discord server you should join. If you're totally okay with profanity, then I recommend you give it a shot. It's called the Cybertron Discord server. I'm a moderator there even though I don't really do that much. So come along if you don't mind profanity, and if you don't mind the occasional raid. There will be a link in the description, and as for the rest of the videos, you can go and watch them, and I am in the process of making an anime review. Please remind me because I will procrastinate.